Good morning, friends. Myself, Praveen Pathak. So, we are going to discuss the heat transfer operation subject. In that, in the previous lecture, we have already discussed about the heat transfer operation. The heat transfer operation is the operation where the heat is transferred from one point to another point, or from one body to another body, or from one location to another location. The main requirement for the heat transfer operation is the driving force for the heat transfer. So here delta T, that is means temperature difference. So the temperature difference is the driving force for the heat transfer. So there are three modes of heat transfer, that is conduction, convection and radiation. So as per as the second law of thermodynamics is concerned, it is clearly mentioned that heat is always transferred from high temperature to low temperature. So in the thermodynamics also, it is clearly mentioned that it is a natural phenomena where the heat is always transferred from high temperature to low temperature. It is mentioned in this diagram also, that is body A and body B are there. So body A is at high temperature and body B is at low temperature. So TA is greater than TB. It means naturally the flow from A to B can be occur. So the natural phenomena or the high temperature to low temperature, if transfer of energy is there, then it is called as heat transfer operation with natural phenomena. Now, in the previous discussion, we have already discussed about the definition of conduction, then the examples of conduction. So in the conduction, what exactly it occurs? It is the heat flow through the material medium without actual migration of particles. So it is a key word in the conduction. So the heat is transfer or the heat transfer operation occurs, but without actual migration of particles. So the particles or atoms or molecule which involved in the metals or in other material, that particle are not moving, but that vibration of energy or vibration energy can transfer the heat from particle to particle. So particles gets heat and it is converted into vibrations, and that vibrated particles are giving the heat as a energy to the other particle without actual migration. So that is nothing but the conduction. So conduction occurs in solids, liquids and gases, but pure conduction occurs or found in solids only. So mainly when we are discussing about the conduction, so the solid or metals are mainly focused because experimentally it is found that in the solid the rate of conduction is more as compared to liquids and gases. The examples of conduction is heat flow through the brick wall of a furnace. So we know about the furnace, we are using this furnace or boiler for the heating of the water or to generate the steam. So in the furnace, when the brick wall we are considering, so brick wall is nothing but the solid or it is a metal part, and in that part the conduction mainly occurs. In the metal sheet of a boiler also. So boiler again is made up of the different material, but the main material is a metal. So in the metal again, the boiler wall is the second example of conduction. Then third, metal wall of a heat exchanger tube. So we have discussed about the heat exchangers, that may be shell and tube heat exchanger, double pipe heat exchanger, etc. But when we are talking about the indirect contact heat exchangers, it means the one fluid is not going to directly contact with the second fluid, that is hot and cold fluid are not directly mixed and heat is transferring, then it is called as indirect contact heat transfer. Now in this shell and tube heat exchanger or double pipe heat exchangers, all are the examples of indirect contact heat exchangers. And indirect means there is a tube and outside the tube one fluid is there and inside the tube second fluid is there. So that tube metal wall is the main part where the conduction occurs. Then convection. In the convection, it is the transfer of heat from one point to another point within the fluid. That may be gases, that may be liquid. So by mixing of this hot and cold portion of the fluid, convection can occur. So generally convection occurs in the liquids and gases and not in solids. So there are two types of convection. One is natural, it is also called as free convection, and second is forced convection. So in the natural convection, here the transfer of heat or the motion of fluid occurs basically due to the density difference. So in this diagram, it is clearly mentioned that here is a liquid, that may be water or other types of liquid. If we give the heat from the heat source, then the bottom side of the particles or water molecules at the bottom gets heat, and after absorbing the heat, they become lighter, because when the particle or molecules gets heated, then the density of that particles are going to on a lower side, so that particle or molecule becomes lighter, and in this way they are moving in a upward direction, right? And when the colder portions are there, so that movement of the particles is from top to bottom. So when high density particles are there or cooler particles are there, then that high density particles are moving from top to bottom, and low density particles are moving from bottom to top. And in this way, convective current occurs or form. And due to this convective current, this convection phenomena occur. So if the convection or heat transfer occurs in this way, then it is called as natural phenomena or free convection. When we are talking about the forced convection, so this forced convection is nothing but the heat transfer phenomena produced by mechanical means. So mechanical means is nothing but the external agency, that may be agitator, that may be fan, that may be blower or pump. So there are different equipments or instruments which can be used as external agency for the fast convection or fast rate of heat transfer. So if you need the faster rate or the fast convection, then you can adopt the forced convection phenomena with the help of any type of instruments. So the examples of the convection is heating of water in cooking pans, heating of room by steam radiator, etc. So you can say the examples like the hot water is mixed with the cold water in a bucket, that is also the convection phenomena. So there are number of examples where the convection occurs. Then what is radiation? So in the radiation, it is the transfer of heat from one body to another, but not in contact. So in this heat transfer phenomena or mode of heat transfer, there is no contact. So without any medium or without any contact, but with the help of electromagnetic waves, the heat can be transferred. And that is why it is called as radiation. So the simple example of radiation is heat is transferred from sun to earth. That is the simple phenomena, daily phenomena. So from crores of kilometers, that heat is transferred or the pockets are transferring from sun to earth. So there is no need of any media, and that is the simple example of radiation. Then industrial example is loss of heat from an unlagged steam pipe. So if the heated pipe or the pipe which carries the steam or other hot material, then heat can be lost through the that pipe if that is unlagged. Unlagged means if the insulations are not provided on the outer side of that pipe. So if it is already insulated, if already properly insulated, then the heat losses are very less. But if it is not insulated, then the losses of heat is more, and that is the example of radiation. Now these are the three modes of heat transfer, that is conduction, convection and radiation. Now what is mean by steady state heat flow and unsteady state heat flow? So the steady state heat flow, it means when the heat transfer phenomena occurs and does not vary with time. So as time increases or time proceeds, if the temperature or the heat does not vary, then it is called as steady state. So in the heat transfer operation practicals on the industrial examples, we have to go for the steady state condition. So what is that steady state condition? Steady state conditions means initially if we heat any instrument or plate or any type of metal or liquid or gases, then initially you can observe the temperature is increasing. But at a particular time when the temperature is not going to increase or not going to fluctuate, it is at steady state, then it is called as steady state heat transfer operation. So we are going to study the steady state heat transfer operation, and if the heat transfer operation or heat or temperature varies with time, then it is called as unsteady state. So if does not vary with time, then steady state. If does vary with time, then it is unsteady state. So in this lecture or in the heat transfer operation, initially we are going to study only the steady state unidirectional heat conduction in solids. So we are going to focus steady state heat transfer operation and unidirectional only, because heat transfer operation occurs in a three-dimensional study, that may be in x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. But for the simplicity purpose, we are going to study this heat transfer operation in steady state and in unidirectional heat flow in a single direction. Then we have already discussed about the Fourier law. So this is the basic and important law as far as the conduction is concerned. So what is Fourier law? Rate of heat transfer is proportional to the area of heat transfer and temperature gradient. So this dt by dx is temperature gradient. So rate of heat transfer, that is Q, is proportional to A, and dt by dx, that is temperature gradient, is the Fourier law. When we are using this proportionality and going to convert this in an equation or with equal sign, then the proportionality constant K incorporated in this equation. So this Q is equal to Ka dt by dx. Now this K is proportionality constant, and it is also called as thermal conductivity. Now this minus sign is incorporated in this equation because we have already discussed when the distance is increasing or the thickness is increasing or we are moving away from the heat source, then the temperature decreases. So if the temperature decreases with respect to x, then we can say that temperature is decreasing with respect to x, and that is indicated by this negative sign. So this negative sign is due to dt by dx, right? So now our Fourier law becomes Q equal to minus Ka dt by dx, where Q is the rate of heat transfer in terms of watt or joules per second. Then area of heat transfer is area of heat transfer in meter square. Then the temperature in Kelvin, and x is the distance, that may be thickness, that may be length in terms of meter, and dt by dx is the temperature gradient, right? So this is nothing but the Fourier law, which is very important in the conduction. Then we have discussed about the different cases where the conduction can occur. We have taken the example, we have discussed about the boiler metal wall, we have discussed about the shell and tube heat exchanger tube wall, we have discussed various things where metals or the solid walls are involved, right? So what is the shape of that particular solid wall? So depending on that shape, thickness, area, we have to calculate the rate of heat transfer. So to calculate the rate of heat transfer in different shapes, we are uh, using that word, that these are the different cases where the conduction can occur, right? So to calculate the Q, first case is plane wall. So plane wall or slab, right? So we we have considered this plane wall, and in that plane wall we have considered this small element that is called as dx. So the total wall is of length or thickness x, and that small element is indicated by dx. So for this x thickness, the boundary conditions are x equal to 0 and x equal to x. So these are the two boundary conditions. Then we have considered that at this point T1 is the temperature. So this T1 is higher temperature and this T2 is lower temperature. It means for this plane wall, we have considered the left hand side or this side is a hot phase and this side is a cold phase. So as far as the second law of thermodynamics is concerned, we know that the heat is always transferring from high temperature to low temperature. It means from hot phase to cold phase. That is why I have mentioned that heat is flowing from the left to right, that is from this direction. So it is a heat flow and we know that T1 is greater than T2. Now we know about the Fourier law statement and the mathematical expression of the Fourier law. So this is the mathematical statement of Fourier law, that is Q equal to minus Ka dt by dx. So this is statement of Fourier law. And on the basis of this Fourier law, we are going to derive the rate of heat transfer for the plane wall. So this dx can rearrange on the left hand side. So it becomes q into dx, and that is equal to minus Ka dt by 1, because this dx is transferred to this left hand side. So it becomes q into dx. Now for calculation of the total area or the heat transfer, we have to integrate this equation, and that is why we have put this integration sign for the dx as well as for the dt side. So integration of dx, and the limits are x equal to 0 to x equal to x and t is equal to t1 to t2, right? So after solving this integration, that is 1 dx or simple dx, that becomes x, and the integration limits are x equal to 0 to x equal to x. And again here 1 dt means integration of 1 is t for this dt, and the limits are t1 to t2. So after putting the upper limit and lower limit values for the x as well as for the t, we get x minus 0 and t2 minus t1. So we can write this x minus 0 as x, and we can multiply this minus sign to this bracket, and it becomes t1 minus t2. So we get q into x, and on the right hand side Ka, and this t2 becomes minus t2, and this t1 minus t1 becomes plus t1 by multiplying this minus sign. So the equation becomes q into x equal to Ka t1 minus t2. And now the rate of heat transfer, or the final equation for the plane wall or a slab, is q equal to Ka t1 minus t2 upon x. So this x can be rearranged on the right hand side from on the denominator side. So this is the final equation for the plane wall or slab. We can calculate the rate of heat transfer or the unknown parameter for the plane wall by this given equation, right? So this q equation can be written in terms of q equal to delta t upon r. How it is going to write? Because this r is thermal resistance. So r for the plane wall is nothing but the x upon k. So r is x upon Ka, that is for plane wall, and this T1 minus T2 can be written as delta T, that is nothing but the driving force. So this T1 minus T2 becomes delta T, and this Ka can be rearranged on the denominator side, that is x upon Ka. So this becomes x upon Ka. Now this x upon Ka is nothing but R, and this T1 minus T2 is nothing but delta T. So we can write the rate of heat transfer equation as delta T upon R. It means the rate of heat transfer is the ratio of driving force of heat transfer, that is delta T, and the thermal resistance. So this is the common equation for all the cases. That may be plain wall, that may be cylinder, that may be sphere, or that may be composite wall. So this is Q equal to delta T upon R, or Q equal to driving force upon thermal resistance is the common equation. But please note that this resistance is going to change because these parameters are applicable for this plane wall. For the cylinder, the parameters are different. For the sphere, the parameters are again different. For the composite wall, the parameters are again different. So we can use this common equation, that is Q equal to delta T by R, or Q is nothing but the ratio of driving force to the thermal resistance for all the cases. Now in the previous lecture, we have solved some examples. So what is the rate of heat transfer for the red brick? The given data is K is equal to 0.7 watt per meter Kelvin. Then the length of plane wall is given 5 meter. Height of plane wall is given, that is 4 meter. And the thickness is given, that is 250 mm. And the temperature conditions are 373 Kelvin and 303 Kelvin. So as it is a plane wall case or slab case, we should use this final equation of plane wall, that is Q equal to Ka delta T upon X, or we can use Q equal to delta T upon R. But what is R? R is equal to X upon Ka. So you can use any type of equation, but please note that you have to think about the units, whether the units are same for all the parameters. Now in this case, you can observe this thickness is given in terms of millimeter. So we have to convert this millimeter into meter. Why? Because this K is in terms of meter, this length is in terms of meter, this height is in terms of meter. Now here the K in terms of Kelvin, temperature is also in Kelvin, so there is no point to change the units. So only change is thickness, mm to meter. So we have all the parameters with SI units, so we can put this all the parameters value with units and we get the rate of heat transfer. So this K value 0.7 watt per meter Kelvin, put this value, then A area, so we can calculate the area with the help of this length and height. So 5 into 4 meter, then this T1 minus T2, so 373 Kelvin minus 303 Kelvin upon X. So this 250 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. So put this value of X on denominator side and we can calculate these things and we get 3920 watt, right? We have also discussed about the second examples where we have to calculate this Q. Area is given 1 meter square. Brick wall is the case, that is plain wall or slab, 0.5 meter thick. Temperatures are given, K is given. So the same equation can be applied for the case, and just by putting the values, we get the value, that is 126 watt. Now we have discussed in the previous lecture the third numerical in the flat surface, but in this case they have given the value of Q. In the previous two examples we have calculated Q, but in this example they have given the value of Q, then delta T, and we have to calculate the X. So unknown parameter is X, and they have given two conditions, that is one is asbestos cement material of K equal to 0.11 and second material is fire clay, K is 0.84. So area is 1 meter square. So again we can use this final equation, that is Q equal to Ka T1 minus T2 upon X, and just putting the values of all these Ka delta T Q, we can calculate X. Similarly, if we change the value of K only, that is 0.11, now for second case 0.84, we get the value of X. So this is the third example up till now we have discussed. So what is the next point? So the next point for the second case for the heat conduction is nothing but the heat flow through a cylinder. So in the previous case, we have discussed about the plane wall. Now it is a cylinder. So first, you should mention what is meant by cylinder, then what are the parameters involved in the cylinder, and depending on that parameter, the changes in the Fourier law is there. So depending on that changes, the formula or the final equation also changing. So we know that if the cylinder is there, it means there should be one pipe, that is inner, and second one is outer. So this is inner radius that can be indicated by R1, and the outer radius can be indicated by R2. Now in a inner part the temperature is T1, and in the outer part temperature is T2. Now we are assuming that temperature 1 or T1 is more than the T2. So T1 is greater than T2 case, right? So as we have discussed in the plane wall case, we are going to take a small element. So in the cylinder case also, we have to take the small element, but it is a cylindrical element, and now it is indicated by dr. In the plane wall case, we have mentioned the dx as a small element for the derivation and integration purpose. Now in the cylindrical case, we have to take dr as a small element, right? So for this small element, the radius is in between R1 and R2. Now how to derive the rate of heat transfer for the cylinder? So as we know that we have to use the Fourier law. Fourier law is Q equal to minus Ka dt by dx. But now in this case, we are using this cylinder and the element is dr, not the dx. So it becomes dr in this case. For the cylinder and sphere, instead of dx, we have to use the dr as a temperature gradient element. So the area of a cylinder, we know area of a cylinder is 2 pi RL, and we have to use this formula of area in the Fourier law. So this Fourier law becomes minus K A. Now this K is replaced by 2 pi RL and dt by dr. So rearranging this equation, so this dr on the left hand side and this r is also on the left hand side. So the equation becomes minus K 2 pi L dt, and this Q can be written here, right? So we have to apply the integration now. And the limits are here. We know that this is the inner radius, that is R1, outer radius is R2. So the radius parameters are R1 and R2, and for temperature T1 and T2, right? So applying the integration dr upon R, R1 to R2 minus K 2 pi L dt T1 to T2 divided by Q. So by solving this integration, we get dr upon R, means 1 by R integration is ln of R, and the limits are R1 to R2. and the integration of dt is t, limits are t1 to t2, right? So we can put this ln of r and the limit value, we get ln of r2 minus ln of r1 equal to k 2 pi l upon key, and I am directly multiplying this minus sign to this, that is if it t2 minus t1, but due to minus sign it becomes t1 minus t2, right? And we can write this ln of r2 minus ln of r1 as ln of r2 by r1 with reference to the log rule, and the right hand side is same. So in this way we get the q value as, so q on the left hand side k 2 pi l t1 minus t2, so this k 2 pi l t1 minus t2, and this ln of r2 by r1. So this is one of the equation for calculating the rate of heat transfer for cylinder case, right? So in this case one additional concept is there, that is called as log mean radius, and that log mean radius is nothing but rm. So this rm is nothing but r2 minus r1 upon ln of r2 by r1. So this is log mean radius concept, so the difference between the radius divided by the log ratio. So this ln of r2 by r1 can be rearranged on the left hand side, ln of r2 by r1 equal to r2 minus r1 upon rm, right? So this ln of r2 by r1 and this ln of r2 by r1, so I am going to replace this side in the case, that is q becomes 2 pi kl t1 minus t2 upon, now ln of r2 by r1 becomes r2 minus r1 upon rm. So after rearranging this rm on the numerator side, it becomes 2 pi rml k delta t upon r2 minus r1. Now this 2 pi rml, so if you observe, we have used this area of a cylinder as 2 pi rl. Now this is 2 pi rml, so log mean radius is there, so this area is nothing but the log mean area, so that q becomes am log mean area for 2 pi rml k delta t upon r2 minus r1. So this is another final equation